one thing we're very interested in when we made this film and telling kind of the points of view of 5 or 6 different people was to kind of engage, not take sides with anyone, and really actually engage the dialogue between the 6 characters. So in the edit, a big aspect was finding the connection points between people, and again, presenting them in a way that kind of let them say their piece without being judgmental. I think it's very particular to sort of South Africa, you know, sort of where we are now, that I think it's very vital that we try and engage the kind of the whole discourse, and kind of embrace everyone's point of view on things like our history, on, you know, current politics, etc. And what I try to do here throughout the film is to try and present all these multiple point of views. I mean, what we have here essentially, you know, with a lot of archival footage, is a sort of history piece, which, you know, is common to many documentaries. But normally what you have in history is whoever's kind of talking and describing history tends to be a very authoritative kind of figure, historian, someone who, you know, seems, you know, to know what they're talking about. And what we did here specifically was to rather have all the characters tell the history of South Africa. And a lot of them tell it, you know, sort of incorrectly. They get the facts wrong. Just before this section, one of the guys from the townships, he talks about colonialism, and he can't work out if it's happened in the 14th century, the 16th century, 17th, 18th. He keeps changing the century, and he gets in a big debate with his friend about when exactly the colonization of South Africa began. And on one level, you know, and this is a problem we had when we applied for funding from the NFVF, they felt we were demeaning or belittling the subject by taking that approach. And I think that's incorrect. I think I mean, for me, it's a very good way of reflecting kind of how on our education level, on one level, seriously kind of failed. But it also, in the wider sense, sort of what you can, I guess, in postmodernism terms call decentering the narrative. And again, within the context of South Africa, I think decentering the narrative is a very important thing, because we come from such diverse places and have such diverse ideas. I think it's very important, even if you don't kind of let all those ideas be heard in a documentary, at least make the audience aware that they exist, and that's, you know, I think that's very important.
I don't know, it's, I guess, open to interpretation, but my feeling is that here is a film that's about my journey finding out about my grandfather, and also looking at all these fragments and these kind of memories of him, right, to build up the picture of this man. So I wanted to move around this specific image which recurs in the film as a metaphor, to indicate fragments of a man. And
a lot of information for this short time, so, and also the drum was kind of in loop, and sometimes it didn't match. So Sarah was the expert actually trying to match the beat, and yeah.
We had that section already with Ian's explanation and the drum repeating with Hilton Schilder playing, and we knew that we wanted to have a Guma drum maker making a drum, but we didn't know that he was going to become a sort of a character. But once we met Ahmad, he's like the sweetest man on the planet, and he started telling us all about it, and we had to use his voice as well to tell that story, because I suppose he's lived that story as well. But it's kind of interesting how, like, we actually just wanted to film him making the drums, but then once we meet him, no, he has to be in the movie, like, as himself, you know, because, yeah, I don't know, everyone should go and visit him because he's awesome.
It's a simple shot, just of, you know, I mean, I was literally skimming through footage and I saw the shot of an old lady walking down a dirt road, some rural area. And by the time I finished with the shot, I created this whole world for myself. The shot didn't have, or it had very bad sound. There was some sound with it, but it was so bad I couldn't use it, so I threw it away, and then the shot kind of lost its meaning, I suppose. And then you start, you know, it's a woman, an older person who carries a very heavy thing, something on her head. At that point she's stopped, and it's sort of dusk, and she's in this wide field where there's absolutely nothing. So then I started layering the sound, you know, she bends down and she picks up a plastic bag, so you put in the sound of the plastic crinkling, and then she starts walking, and then you can feel her clothes, and she starts walking, and you put in her footsteps, and then you hear a tractor starting, and off there in the distance, eventually the shot opens up, and you see a tractor at the end of the day going home, and there's some guys on the back. So it sounds completely silly, but in that moment, this particular film also tells a story of very poor people in a very poor part of our country, a neglected part of our country. And by using that shot and all those sounds and things, I just had the sense, fuck, if it was my mother who had to carry that thing on her head home, walk all that, you know, however far it was that she had to walk to carry all that stuff home. So into that little sound moment, I put all my missing my mother and my feelings, I suppose, of empathy for fellow human beings' life. So I suppose what I'm talking about now is how you can use the power of sound to recreate the world. You know, the way you use music, I also love working with music, but I think I use sound more to create those rhythms, because our lives, if we, it's a very interesting thing. Many years ago, I had the privilege to work with a very famous editor, a guy called Terry Rawlings, who cut films like Blade Runner and Chariots of Fire, and I worked on one of his films, which I can't for the life of me think. Sigourney Weaver, The Woman in Space, what were those movies? What?
Alien.
Alien. I worked on the third Alien with him in the sound department. And it made me very aware. And then this morning I was coming from where I live in Blouberg into town using the public transport system, and it's early, and I'm swearing, why must I come on a Saturday morning to talk to you guys when I could have been sleeping? So I closed my eyes, and then you start hearing the rhythm of the life that we live, you know. Whereas you can also shut it all out, and that's the beauty of sound and what it creates. And how you can manipulate it in an edit to create that world that you want to create, to convey something. But yeah, so I think I'm just saying sound's a really cool thing. I often wish the way people walk around with cameras and take pictures of people in the street and so on. I used to, mine was stolen. I often hear sound and I think, oh, I don't have these cool phones that you guys have these days, but it's not good enough. That cool phone is not good enough for sound, which I suppose we'll get to budget and all that stuff.